Hey guys, Kevin and Mary for Wayward Pines, episode 7, Betrayal. And this episode, obviously, it was amazing. I mean, every episode's been amazing. Maybe the best episode of the season. This is kind of now a tie between this episode and, of course, The Truth. That episode was just amazing. But this episode, holy shit, guys. I mean, I was not expecting that ending at all. This episode was huge, and I can just tell that these last 3 episodes, they're going to be fucking amazing, and I cannot wait for them. This episode, amazing. I absolutely loved it. Let's just get into it because a lot happened as usual. There's always a lot to talk about in the show. And let's just get into it. So, I love the way the episode started out because, for the past 2 episodes, Ethan's been pretty much on his own. He's been, helping out David, and he's been with David and Pam, and finally he is now returned home. We start with he's now come home after his long date with David, and Theresa asks when he got back, and basically says that she was sitting up waiting, and she says they have to go back to Seattle, and says her mom's surgery is Wednesday, and Ethan tells her that and he tells her straight out. Now, I was really wondering what he was going to do here, because obviously, as I said, Teresa's in the worst position, because she, of course, is the only one that doesn't know what's going on. She doesn't know anything about Wayward Pines, and she doesn't know that it's this, what year it is and anything. But he tells her straight out there is no Seattle, and she asks what he means, and he says the car wrecks, they weren't taken directly here, and I'm like, oh shit, he's going to tell her. They were put into a suspended animation. She asks about his arm, and he says she'll think he's crazy. He says they are creatures, monsters outside the walls, and he saw them with his own eyes. Now, I was thinking Ethan's going to get killed for this, but then I thought, wait a second, he's the mayor. What the hell's going to happen to him? Like, he's obviously the mayor, so, and he obviously doesn't want these rules anymore. So, I'm pretty sure, I mean, Ethan telling people he can do it because he's the mayor. Like, if people are wondering, well, how did Ethan not get himself killed? He's the damn mayor. Like, he's the one that is supposed to be doing, I mean, the sheriff. He's the sheriff, so he's the one that's supposed to be doing this, and basically, you know, um, since Arnold's gone, Ethan's not gonna kill people, obviously. So he says there are creatures, monsters outside the wall, and he saw them with his own eyes. He says the cities have all been destroyed, and this fake little town is all that's left. She asks what they did to him, and he says no. She tells him to try and remember if they inject him with something, and she doesn't want to believe him. She's not believing a second of this. She sees he wrote down 4028, and she's like, what is that? And he tells her straight out again that that's the date, and she doesn't believe him. And he goes to crank the car, and then notices the battery on his car was messed with because the CD player time, basically the CD player is flashing. So that was really interesting. So he tells Therese and Ben to go ahead and walk so we can check the starter. He pops the hood, looks inside, he sees something in his engine, pulls the wire, unhooks the device, and it looks like a bomb, as we know, Kate and Harold have planted that bomb, and he looks around wondering who decided to try and kill him this morning, and at the office he takes it apart and finds a simple plastic explosive pipe bomb kind of thing. He then gets into the files about the townsfolk, starts flipping through, and he starts with Franklin Dobbs, and Pam shows up and says she can help him with something. She asks if he thinks Franklin is involved with the subversives, and he says he'll find out and let her know. He says he needs to go do his job, and she says she's just there to help and says she would do anything for her brother. She says she can be a good friend to him, and he asks for access to the surveillance system to see what Franklin's been up to. And basically, Ben and Teresa walk, and he asks why she's walking to school. And I really love this scene because you can tell that Teresa's just trying to bond with Ben, because, of course, she now knows this information. She wants to bond with him as much as she can, and she's just very protective of him because, of course, she thinks that she doesn't know if her husband's senile or not. She doesn't know if he's made this all up. So it's understandable why, and she wants to know if he's, gone through the same thing. And basically, he asks why she's walking to school. She says she just wants to spend time with him. He asks if she's okay. And she asks if he misses Seattle. He says he doesn't think about it. She asks about camping, and he says we're not supposed to, and he said, that they're not supposed to talk about the past. And David walks by with a smile. Ben tells her he likes it in Wayward, and she would too if she gave it half a chance. Megan greets them, and Teresa asks if she can take a tour of the school. And Megan says school's for children, not for parents. And that I thought was really interesting because, and I'm like, Megan, can you at least try to sound like a little bit, not shady? Like, that is probably the shadiest answer she could have given her, honestly. Like, tell her right there that, oh, parents aren't allowed. Like, what school would say that? There's no school that would say parents can't come in. Like, that's not normal. So, I'm not saying that's a problem, but like if Megan would have given her a better answer, then I would have appreciated that. But she didn't give her a very good answer there. So basically, she says to feed him and take care of him at home, let her take care of the rest. Teresa's not happy with this at all because, of course, she wants to find answers. She goes to look at the undeveloped piece of property. She opens the fence, goes inside. She wants to see if Ethan's actually telling the truth, or because she doesn't believe him. She really doesn't. She doesn't think that he's telling the truth, and I think just she wants to think of a more logical answer. To her, it doesn't really make sense, and that's understandable. I mean, think about it. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense what Ethan is claiming. All these claims of this isn't really our world and things like that, and that this is 4028 doesn't exactly make sense unless David Pilcher were to tell her. But obviously, David Pilcher's not there to tell her, so she's not going to believe it all. So basically, she picks up, she hears this metallic sound when she stomps her feet. She goes into the little shed on the property, goes inside, she gets a piece of rebar, hits it, and hears a distinctive metallic clank. So Ethan meets with Franklin at the bar and says he wants to get to know all the shopkeepers in town. And Ethan says they don't talk about the past, then cracks a joke. And he says he would like to discuss some person with him, and asks something in person with him, and asks about gophers. He says they're destroying his lawn, says that he worked in demolition, and Franklin says he can't help him, and says he needs to get back to the shop. He leaves, and Ethan walks out moments later. And basically at school, Megan is teaching biology. This scene was really creepy, guys. Honestly, this was really creepy. Basically, she says to go ahead and giggle. She says the textbooks have to stay there. She says their parents will be uncomfortable about biology. She says procrastination is beautiful and blessed, and says in Wayward Pines, it's really their most important job. She calls on Ben and Amy and asks them to step up in front. Everyone giggles. Megan says male and female and says they're designed to fit together effortlessly. She says they're perfect puzzle pieces like hand and glove. The kids giggle, says, what if Ben was a bee and Amy a flower? She says, then it wouldn't be funny. She says, Wayward Pines needs a new generation. One day, not too far away, they will all parent the first generation of 100% originals. She says to look around the room, and basically that's a small town, and your mate and co-parent is right in this room. She says it's part of her job as counselor to help them find each other, and she tells Ben and Amy they can sit, and Ben tells Amy that was really weird, because obviously he's not used to it, and yeah, that was weird. I mean, I don't think I've been in a classroom where, I just took, like, bio, and there was nothing like that. That was actually just very strange what Megan was doing. It's not so much what Megan was saying, it's that the whole class was laughing. That's kind of what I found strange about it. Like, why would the whole class laugh about it? It wasn't exactly something funny that she was saying. Why the class was laughing, I really don't know. That was kind of strange, honestly. So, Pam finds her brother and asks to speak with him alone. She says she's doing fertility consults and there are 2 new pregnancies. He says it's wonderful but doesn't look... Obviously, they want these pregnancies because the more pregnancies, the more children. But he doesn't really look that happy. And she asks what's wrong. He asks why they're trying to undermine them. And she says that they found a passion for self-destruction. And basically, she says he worries so much he forgets to eat. Then his blood sugar drops and he gets gloomy. And she says Ethan will find the troublemakers and says he'll get them through this. And David tells her it's great news that he has to go into a consult. And Ethan lurks near shops in town looking around. He sees Franklin talking to Kate's husband, Harold. And Franklin leaves and Ethan asks him to come talk to him in private about the damn bomb in his truck. And Harold says he knows nothing about it, and obviously he knows that, Ethan says to come to his office, and he can tell him what he doesn't know. Harold shoves him off, goes running, and he knows that they are responsible for creating this bomb. Ethan's not stupid. He knows who created this bomb. He knows that someone obviously created. He knows that there's someone out there that's just not coming forward, and he knows that definitely there's more to who made this bomb. He knows that someone made it, and I like how smart Ethan was with that. So Ethan has to tackle him in the street and says next time he won't be so gentle. He tells everyone Harold tripped and fell, then hauls him to the sheriff's station. And Ethan says Franklin made the bomb, and here's someone who works with him planted it in his truck. So Ethan says he knows they want to take out the fence. Now, I'm still trying to question, why did Kate make this bomb? I'm not really sure. I mean, I'm just not really sure what Kate's real agenda is here. I just really don't know, and I think that's going to be very interesting to see why she did it. So Ethan says there's no somewhere and asks for names from the group and who's the leader. Harold says there's no one else and he acted alone. Ethan says he did plant the bomb in his truck and lied about, but is telling the truth now. He writes a note, tells him to give it to Kate, then says he can go now. And Harold's confused and leaves. And Theresa then tells Bill that she found this subscriptive under the soil at the lot, and he says maybe a water tank. And he says life is full of mystery and says not to think about it too much. He tells her she shouldn't be snooping. He looks at the camera and he says, a safe and happy town is people minding their own business. And he sends her to the hospital to pick up some files. And basically, Kate comes to see Ethan because she knows that he's on her, and says she got his note. And he tells her to come in and sit down. He says he disabled the surveillance in the room. She says she heard the bomb and says she doesn't know who did it. And I'm just like, that's bullshit. We know you did it. And he says she can figure out who did since she's their leader. And she asks what if she was, and he says of course she is, and says Harold was an accountant. He asks who else is involved, and Kate says it's all that's keeping her sane. And I thought that was really interesting. She says it evolved over time. And here we find out here why she's doing this, because she says they mean a secret to be real with each other. And we see scenes of the support group type thing being in a basement. Kate's there, Franklin and Harold are part of the group. She says she's been trapped there 12 years, and Ethan says it stops now, and she says she won't stop trying to escape prison. He says the world outside the fence is gone, and it's not 2014. And of course, she didn't know that, and she gets this really weird look on her face, and I'm like, oh shit, he's gonna tell her. I kind of felt like Kate already knew, though. Like, just the expression she gave him was kind of an expression of, oh, you know, okay. Like, I kind of just feel like she knows. I'm not really sure why, but I kind of feel like that's what's going on there. I don't know, I feel that way. So Amy runs up to Megan and says it was a good class. She tells Megan she really likes Ben, and Megan says it's fulfilling when an assignment turns into something more. And Megan says she's likely his first girlfriend. And Amy says she wants to ask him on a date so they can be somewhere more secluded and private and basically more intimate. She wants to basically have sex with him. And Megan asks if he's pressuring her, and she says no. She says she might have to pressure him, and I thought that was kind of funny. And Megan says to enjoy being young and in love, and while it's an innocent thing for Amy, Megan, it's just anything that Megan says, it's like so creepy. I just don't know. Something about Megan, it really creepy. So Kate can't believe he's working for the people in charge of this all. He says to hand over the explosives and whoever rigged his truck by tomorrow morning. He tells her she can't take down the fence. Harold's working on a bomb at the shop. When Kate comes back, she says they got to Ethan, they have to advance the timetable. And she says that they won't get a second call and says they have to execute tonight. And basically, they have to execute him. So Kate gets a call from Pam to remind them of a fertility consult, and Kate says they have to go so she doesn't get suspicious, and Pam says they're young, fertile, and in their prime, but they're not pregnant. She doesn't understand why, and Pam says she doesn't, really understand this, and says their lab work's all good. She thanks them for coming in, and then stops at the door, and basically she tells them that she's always thought highly of them, and says they are the perfect Wayward Pines couple and have such good genetics, and Harold says they need to gather the team. They make this plan, and she wants to use all their explosives, basically. That's what their plan is here. So Theresa runs into Kate in the elevator at the hospital. They don't speak. Obviously, it's still awkward between them. It's always going to be awkward between them. But then Theresa asks to talk to her and says she's worried about Ethan. And Kate tells her to come on, and they go to talk. And she asks if Ethan told her it's about the future and there are no humans left. And basically, Kate tells Ethan that she thinks they brainwash people in the mountain, and she says they called a secure line, and Adam left her a message saying she was in a government experiment and she might be tested by another agent. Something is telling me that Adam is going to end up there. We can't have all this focus on Adam in, like, the first 3 episodes and then not have him, in Wayward Pines. I definitely feel like Adam is going to end up in Wayward Pines. He is the main character. He's booked as a main character. I feel like he needs to come to Wayward Pines. There has to be a way. So Kate says Adam's a straight shooter, but she says she didn't tell Ethan any of that. And Kate tells her she's a good person and wishes they had met under different circumstances. And Theresa tells Ethan she's worried about him. And basically, they think that they've brainwashed him. And, he says that it's ridiculous. He says he saw things and is not making this up. She says everything could be gone, can't be gone. And he says they are what's left. And they just don't really want to accept what's really going on. It's understandable why. I mean, again, it just doesn't seem the most logical. And they just want a more, logical reason. And his reason is very illogical. So he says that's what's left. They are what's left. Then asks what else Kate said. And she says Kate was emotional, like it was a permanent goodbye. And he asks where Ben is. And she says at school. And he says he's going to get him. And Amy asks Ben to sneak out later for a walk in the woods. Obviously, she's planning on having sex with him. That's what she plans on doing. So they can take the relationship to that level. And basically, she says she has a plan on how to get there because it's, basically he asks if it's against the rules. She sets up in the trees and asks him to meet after dinner and tells her where. She says she doesn't know why people get nervous in class talking about biology. Obviously, they shouldn't. She doesn't understand why either. It's kind of strange that they were laughing about it. So Ethan pulls up and he says he needs to come home. Ben says he's busy right now, and Ethan says he'll explain in the car. He insists he has to come, and he tells him to tell Amy goodbye. He does and says he's sorry. She says to meet him later, and he nods. And Harold meets with Ted and asks if he plants the pipe bomb, if he put the pipe bomb in the sheriff's truck. And Ted is unrepentant, and he asks if he wanted him to do this or not. Harold slides a bag over to him. Ted takes it and goes. He leaves and then opens the back of his delivery truck and sets the package inside. Nurse Pam says there's a camera went out, and she tells Ethan, but he thinks Kate is trying to distract them. So he's headed for where he thinks they are. They are placing bombs at the fence, and Ethan has Pam where the blind spots are. And Ethan shows up and finds Kate. He says he's not letting them blow it up. He tells Franklin to disarm it, and Kate tells him no. Ethan threatens to shoot her right then. This is an insane scene. Like, this whole scene was crazy. He cocks the gun, and Franklin caves in, shuts the bomb down. I mean, it's this crazy scene here, guys. He tells Kate that he trusted her, and he hauls her up, and he tells them to get on their feet. He locks them all up, then goes into Kate's cell to talk to her, and he says they had a deal, and she says they did something to him, and he just doesn't know it, and she says they'll be in Seattle soon. I'm like, what the hell does that mean? Like, obviously, she thinks that she still is under this impression that he was brainwashed. She doesn't want to believe what he's saying. So Ethan says she has convinced them to stop it, but she says it's just begun. He asks where is Harold, and he says there's a backup bomb, then asks where it is. She won't talk, and he locks her back in her cell. Ben then sneaks out of the house to meet Amy. They wait on the truck that comes by at 8 p.m. He says they could walk, but she says it's more fun this way. She tells him to relax. Ted pulls up and gets something out to deliver and takes it in the house. The kids run over their truck, sneak into the back. They climb inside. They're right near the bomb bag, so literally they could die within seconds. They obviously don't know there's a bomb there, but they're right near the bomb bag, and I'm like, holy shit, this is going to be insane. This whole final act was insane here, because Ted gets back in, they drives off. Ethan goes to Pam, asks her to locate Harold. She looks for him, says he was at the Burr Garden an hour ago, and she says he was with Ted. She says he drives a delivery truck. He asks where the truck is. She tells him where it is and where he switches the trucks. It's at the fence. Ethan spots the bag that Harold passes to Ted. Ben and Amy stand in the back of the truck. Ethan goes racing after it. Ben looks around the boxes. Amy sees the bag and looks inside it. She pulls out the music box. It turns on, and Ben asks what it is, and of course they listen. They don't really think anything of it. So she sets it on the floor of the truck, pulls him down beside her, and she just starts kissing him, planning to, having sex with him. And the little ballerina twirls and the music plays. Some others spot Ethan and wheel a dumpster in the street. One of the guys is wounded. They limp away, and Ethan's truck is basically toast here. He's on foot now. Ben and Amy are still kissing. Ethan races on foot. The truck has to stop at a crosswalk for a pedestrian. It's literally like speed here, guys. Like, it's insane. Ethan was like Keanu Reeves in this scene. I mean, it was awesome. Just as Ethan gets close, the bomb goes off. Ethan sees Amy lying on the ground, and basically he asks if she's okay. She's not saying anything. The worst part of this, though, is that Ben is lying there, too, and Ethan sees the blood, screams his name, and that's how the episode ends. So, awesome cliffhanger, and an overall awesome episode. Obviously, an awesome episode. I love this episode. A lot to talk about, definitely. Let's first get into this whole Ben situation. Is Ben dead? I'm really not sure. That's something I like, is that they're not telling us if Ben's dead. There was no, Ben I don't think was in the promos or anything, so I like that they're not really telling us if Ben's dead or not. That's something I think is really well done. If you look in the descriptions for, like, episodes, there's no Ben in the episode, so I'm pretty sure that Ben's dead. I don't know if he's dead or not, though, which I like because it keeps the suspense and it makes us wanting to know, is he dead? And I think that, honestly, they're handling that very well. That's something I'm definitely looking forward to is, what is the fate of Ben? Is he dead? Is he not? That's something that's going to be very interesting. Amy, I think Amy's alive. We saw her. She's alive. I'm wondering if maybe Amy will live and Ben doesn't. That could be really interesting. Theresa and Kate, they need to listen to Ethan because he, of course, knows what he's talking about. They don't want to believe him, and I don't really know why, but for whatever reason, they just don't really want to believe him at this point, and they should. Honestly, they need to believe him, and, need to understand that he is telling the truth. And Kate, I kind of feel like Kate knows what's going on there. I definitely think that's very interesting. I'm interested in seeing what's going to happen with that whole situation. Let's talk about Kate and Harold. Are they going to try to have a baby? That's something I'm definitely interested in seeing what's going to happen there. Um, but overall, guys, I really enjoyed this episode. I'm trying to think if there's anything else to talk about. Why was the class worried about talking about biology? I don't understand that. Obviously, Amy and Ben don't understand it either. The rest of the class, though, they just felt like really uncomfortable talking about something like biology. I don't know why they were so like uncomfortable about it. And I'm definitely seeing what's going to happen there as well. I like seeing Megan kind of be like a co-parent. I think that's kind of cool how they're doing that. I definitely enjoy that. Obviously, Pam said that David's very stressed out right now, so we'll have to see what happens there. Is Ethan going to get himself killed? I kind of feel like Ethan is on the road to getting himself killed because he pretty much is telling anyone he knows the truth about Wayward Pines at this point, and that's going to get him killed because obviously they're not allowed to discuss the past. He is the sheriff, but David is really the leader of this town. If David finds out what Ethan has told them, how is he going to react to this? Is David going to be happy? Is he going to maybe try to fix things? I'm pretty sure David does want to. I don't think David really is interested in fixing the town. Ethan obviously is, but David, he asked David this question in the last episode, and David was like, I don't really have, any concerns about it. He doesn't even seem like he's even thinking about it, so I think that's, like, the least of his worries, honestly, and we'll have to see what ends up happening there. But overall, guys, I love this episode. Overall, by far one of the best episodes of the season. Let me know what you guys thought of this episode. I know this was a shorter review than usual, but there just wasn't really as much to say in this episode. That's my review. Hope you guys also. Is Theresa gonna find out that he's telling the truth? We'll have to see what happens there. I kind of feel like Theresa and Kate, one of them, what happened to, of course, that kid's parents, they're gonna end up doing that. I don't know if they're necessarily gonna commit suicide, but I definitely feel like one of them are gonna die. I definitely feel like they have to kill off someone. Also, do you think Adam is gonna end up in Wayward Pines? I mean, they talk about him. They talked about him so much in this episode that he kind of has to join Wayward Pines. Honestly, he's in the same job as Kate and Ethan. Why he hasn't joined Wayward Pines, I'm not sure. We'll have to see what happens there, and that's going to be very interesting, definitely. I really don't know what's going to happen there. If Ben is dead, I mean, that's going to end up really badly for everyone because, of course, Ben was part of this first generation. I hope he's not dead because I really love the storyline of Ben overcoming the whole first generation thing when he does with this. Obviously, I don't think Ethan, I think, knows that Ben does know about the whole first generation thing, but of course, Theresa doesn't. She's trying to connect with him. It's going to be really sad if he is dead. If they did, that was very ballsy, but I don't want to, I hope he's not dead. But that takes my review. Hope you guys enjoy it. I will see you guys in my next video, which will be my review for tonight's episode of Hannibal, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.